Duke basketball never stops, and certainly Duke basketball recruiting never stops as well. What a great week we've got here on Locked On Blue Devils. And once again, our very good buddy, Jason Jordan's going to join us today. Are we already talking about 2025 recruits for head coach Jon Scheyer? You bet we are. We're going to talk about all of that on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Let's get to it.
Vital. Hey, make sure you listen, man, to Locked On Blue Devils with JJ Jackson. He's awesome, baby.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson. So excited to have you here with us on our program today. I'm the host of this podcast. You can follow our show on Twitter at LO_Blue Devils and follow me on Twitter at _JJ_Jackson_. Be sure to subscribe and follow Locked On Blue Devils for free wherever you get your podcasts, as you'll get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it comes out each and every day. Be sure to also subscribe to our Locked On Blue Devils YouTube page to watch the show daily. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Devils your first watch and first listen each and every day. On today's show, what an honor we've got. We've got my good buddy Jason Jordan, the director of college basketball recruiting and senior insider for Sports Illustrated, back with us once again. And as he's with us each and every week, it's brought to you by our good friends over at LinkedIn. As I'd like to thank LinkedIn Jobs for being the official college football and college basketball recruiting sponsor across the Locked On College Network. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. Terms and conditions apply. Jason, it's always great to see you. And it's funny, we joke each and every week that we talk, it feels like we're getting younger in terms of the recruits that we're evaluating for Duke men's basketball. Welcome back into the show today, man.
Oh, man, always happy to be here.
We love recruiting ahead of the game and looking at these guys the younger they are. And I do want to start with some 2024 news. Like we discussed last week, I asked you some of the top prospects to be on the lookout for if you were a Duke basketball fan, and got some news from Trentyn Flowers over the week that it seems like he is going to take a visit to Duke. You're always talking about tracking visits. So tell me a little bit about this.
Man, that's big. That's really big. I like Trentyn. I watched him a lot over during the high school season. Back actually when he was with Huntington Prep before he went to Sierra Canyon. Now he's at another school. But just, I mean, 6'8", he's probably closer to 6'8". He had a really strong summer. Just super versatile. 3-level scorer, guy who uses his length and IQ very well. Right. So he knows angles. He knows how to get to the basket. He's gotten a lot more athletic, but he's knocking that shot down pretty efficiently as well. And he can get downhill. So a guy that you'll be able to use interchangeably in a lot of different lineups. And he rebounds really well, too. So he has a really good feel for the game, playmaker at 6'8". I mean, you know, I see the attraction there for sure.
In your eyes, kind of remind us how Trentyn Flowers compares to his peers. How big of a recruit that's now going to take a visit to Duke?
Yeah, no, I mean, he's a 5-star kid, right? So he's definitely on par with like the top tier of the class, the top 15 level of the class, for sure. And definitely, by my estimation, just based off what he's done and just the specifics of his game and what he's able to do on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. And I like the fact that he can guard multiple positions. So it's a huge visit. No, 100%. I mean, I think people get lost in the fact that he doesn't have an offer. And Trentyn's told, you know, no secret, he grew up a Duke fan, right? So sometimes people get lost in the, oh, he wants us to offer. So maybe he's not that good. No. No, that's not this. Trentyn's a bad man. He's going to be a big piece at whatever school he ends up at. So I wouldn't be shocked if, you know, that offer from Duke comes because he's a really good piece. And, you know, anytime the interest is reciprocated to that level, you know, you got to jump in.
Give us your basketball expertise then in this recruiting world, because you're right, he hasn't received his offer quite yet from Duke, but gets the chance to go on this visit. We would expect the offer to come at some point because, like you're saying, this is a 5-star of 5 stars, and Duke is his dream school. How does all of that come together? And I know there's probably not just one answer that
Yeah.
works every single time. Everybody's got their own schedule, but in the grand scheme of things, to educate the viewer, how does the process of putting a college basketball visit together work? Is it typically led by the coach? Is it led by the player trying to get it on the calendar? How does that work?
Well, people would think that it's typically led by the staff. That's what the general consensus idea will be, but that's not always true. It's a lot of times they get wind of a interest. This one was more public because of who the kid is, right?
Sure.
And and the stature, he's like you said, he's a 5-star kid, but a lot of times it's just back channels. Hey, he's interested in this, and then it's like, oh, okay. It's not like I went and saw this kid. It happens that way, but not as much as it happens the other way. So, of course, you go to Peach Jam, EYBL, Adidas, and all that stuff, and you're like, I got to get that kid on campus. And that happens a lot. But just as much, it happens where, um, you know, degrees of separation. They'll say, hey, let him know I'm down. I'm down. I want to come, and the coaching staff will be like, oh, he does. Yeah, get him on campus for 100%. So I think that's probably. I mean, I know they watched Trenton a lot this summer, so it's not like he's like, hey, I'm really good. Did you know my name is Trenton? It's not that. But I definitely think there's interest on both sides. Obviously, there's no interest on Trenton's side, and obviously there's interest on Duke's side because they're not just going to let him come. I expect the interest to pick up even more after the visit. And I think it's picking up now. I'm actually talking to him this week. We're doing a story on him for next week, so we definitely should talk again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the interest is growing on both ends, and that's a good thing for you guys.
So when coaches are watching these players at these big events like we're talking about, and again, just the whole process of scheduling a visit, I think is something that college basketball fans don't think often about because they just don't know the information and that sort of thing. From the coach's perspective, how quickly do you want to pull out the card? Like, hey, come on a visit. Let me show you these things versus keeping that in your back pocket and holding on to it for a little bit.
Meaning the offer.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to get that done, right? Because Trenton's a guy who's a stock. I mean, he's already got amazing offers already. I mean, he's not like we're just finding out about Trentyn Flowers now. Definitely when the Dukes of the world come in, other heavy hitters I mean, he's got Kentucky interest. He's got blue blood interest all across the board, as he should, because he's that level of player. But if you have, interest, and I know grew up a Duke fan, but I don't want to speak for him. Like, I know that's a dream school and all that, but I did a story about a month ago about how dream offers don't always materialize. So I'm not saying he definitely didn't tell me that if Duke offers, it's over.
Right.
And I don't want to put that out there, but I mean, every little bit helps. If you grew up rooting for K and the boys, I mean, that ain't a bad thing. So yeah, coaches want to get that done quickly, and they want to, it's like, are you ready? Because if you're ready, we might throw you that offer. If you're ready to come on, I think it could be a potential situation. I've seen that a lot, where it's like, hey, I really want to come. I really want to come. And if it's to his level, and I've seen it with 5 stars, but the coach will be like, I'll tell you a story. Brandon Gardner told me he's going to St. John's, and he told me that, back when he was blowing up, like sophomore year, maybe junior year, he got a call from Calipari, headed into his junior year, because it was June 15th. Got a call from Jon Calipari, and he was like, I'm a big fan, big Kentucky fan, coach. Man, wow, you're calling me, right? And so he was like, okay, yeah. He was like, I'd love to come on a visit. And so, I think he said, grain of salt, he said that Cal wanted him to go ahead and commit. And then, if I'll give you the offer, if you're going to take it, that kind of thing. And that's not uncommon. Like, coaches will do that to kind of, if you really want it, like, don't play around. Like, if you want to come on, we want you. But we're not, we don't want to get into a long drawn out thing If we have the upper hand, if you know what you want to do, just come on now. And so that happens more times than people think. I
Because
mean, they want to close. They want to close. Yeah.
as opposed to just collecting offers for the
Right.
recruit, it's
Right.
fun to be able to show off. Look, everybody has given me these
Yeah.
scholarship offers to play basketball, and
100%.
so as opposed to that, the coaches want to be very selective, and
Yeah.
I guess like you're saying, push for that. Here's your offer, now commit. Let's get this over with.
Yeah. And then two, coaches don't like to lose. Right. So that people got to understand. And I mean, they really don't like to lose. Like, they'll be like, oh, we weren't recruiting him. You do know that we weren't recruiting him, right? Like, it's because it's like a branding thing for, especially blue bloods. They're like, we don't know. Are you serious? Or, we going to play. Some people you got to just play the game with, and it is what it is, right? But, sometimes it's like, if you're going to, they want to close. They want to close as soon as possible, and, move on to the next kid.
It is so funny because it always feels like there are some coaches that after the fact, after a player commits elsewhere, the coach will take on I have no idea who this guy. I've never talked to him before. But other times there are other cases, and in the day and age in which the transfer portal is the way it is,
Mhm.
coaches on scouting reports for opposition and that sort of thing are very public about the fact,
Yeah.
yeah, we were very heavy in his recruiting process.
Yeah.
Love his family, because I guess you just never know what could change now.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many coaches have hit me like, hey man, I saw in the story he had us listed, that he committed to this school over, but we had backed off him. And, I just want, you don't have to change it or anything, but we just wanted you to know that it's a save face thing. And it's like, okay, dude, I know he was at a visit a month ago, so stop, but yeah, a lot of ego there, a lot
Yeah,
of ego in the coaching profession.
that's our takeaway. Coaches are very competitive. And
100%.
then our other takeaway is that next week we've got a fun story coming out on Trentyn Flowers, and we're going to be sure to check it out over at Sports Illustrated. One quick timeout, and we'll continue with my buddy Jason Jordan from Sports Illustrated here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Today's show is brought to you by Bet Online. This is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information, from live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts. They have you covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, welcome back into Locked On Blue Devils here today. JJ Jackson alongside my buddy Jason Jordan, the director of college basketball recruiting for Sports Illustrated. Let's turn the page. Let's talk a little bit more about the class of 2025, and we talk about players that Duke could be their dream school. There are two names that really piqued a lot of interest because they shared the same last name as a former Duke great, a national champion at Duke, and Carlos Boozer. And Jason Jordan, we've gotten to the point that a 2001 NCAA champion now has his two sons at the high school age and being recruited.
Yeah, that just means we're getting old. Yeah, it's the funny thing is I remember when Booz picked Duke. That, well, man, that's crazy. So
What do
yeah,
you remember about that?
I just remember that class. That class was super special. I mean, Jay Will, Dunleavy, Carlos Boozer. I remember the McDonald's All-American, watching that on TV, and they were going crazy about their class, and obviously they ended up winning a national title. So yeah, that was that wow. That's insane. That's insane
Yeah.
to me. Yeah.
And now he's twins that are being recruited. Cameron are the twins. Tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about them.
Oh man, superstars, man. I tell you, I Peach Jam every day. I would talk with coaches and NBA guys, and I'd be like, we would always be like, okay, who is the best player you've seen today, right? And so one day it was Cooper Flagg, one day it was the kid from Overtime. I forget his name. Trey Parker, right? And then I was like, no, definitely it's Cooper Flagg. Like, definitely he's the best player I've seen. I mean, I don't think it's going to change, right? And then I saw Cooper Flagg and Cameron Boozer play against each other, and I said, It's Cameron Boozer. Yeah, he's different. He's different, right? So 6'10" and literally does everything. I mean, he handles the ball, he ignites the break. He's a super defensive presence, great footwork, great agility, super athletic, plays with a motor. I mean, goodness gracious. I mean, he just tenacious and mean in a good way. Um, Very skilled, high IQ, just scores in a variety of different ways, and he just impacts the game. And that is all encompassing, right? So he gets deflections, he steps over, he shows well on switches and things like that. There's little small things that I like to watch for that a lot of people don't look at. And then Caden just has a great IQ. He can play both guard spots. 6'3", so he's got great size. Gets downhill really well. Strong with the ball. Strong finisher. Yeah, they're dynamic, man. They're legit. They're legit. Cameron, I would say, is the best player in that class. Based off what I saw, Cooper's a close second,
Yeah.
and Caden's definitely up there too. So he's a dynamic guard, and I think sometimes he gets overshadowed. But I see the special things that he does just from feel and pace, and his ability to score in bunches. So I really like both of them.
And I definitely want to touch on Cooper Flag here in
Yeah,
just a
yeah,
moment, but talking on the Boozer twins
yeah,
here, like you just said a moment ago, that's what's also a little bit surprising is that okay, these are
right.
twins, but Cameron Boozer is 6'10"
Yeah,
and Caden is only 6'3", only six
yeah,
three in the grand scheme of things.
yeah.
So that's a little different, right?
Yeah,
And then not to mention their last name, there was a Duke tie already there. When
yeah.
you're recruiting a legacy, what does that typically look like? And is this race over or is this open?
Well, I think it's open. I mean, they're so young. They're going to run the race. So
Right.
and as they should, right? That you want to have the full experience. I mean, do they have an upper hand? Sure. I mean, when you're coming in and you see, and they're coming in for a visit or something, it's like, there's a familiarity. It's like,
A place they've
boo,
been to a million
ah,
times
you
already.
know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, it's like, fam, what's up, fam? When you can say that, it's different. And it's like, then he can show, oh, this is where I did this on campus this one time. And oh, I remember that. Yeah, he still works here. Oh my God. Yeah, come meet him. This is my son. That's different. That's a different level. And I mean, but they have 2 years. Duke's got a new coach. I mean, they're all family, but I know Duke has a great relationship naturally with the Boozer family. And yeah, I would definitely say they definitely have a leg up, but I do believe that they'll run the race. I think they'll run the race just to go through the process and get the feel
As
for everything.
As they should, and there's
Yeah,
no
for sure.
knocking any of that. And again, Carlos Boozer is not this former player. I know that at times in sports and college athletics, you see players that have a strained relationship with their
Right.
school over the years, and Boozer is not
Oh
the
no.
case
Yeah.
whatsoever. He's
Sure.
been back to campus, and so Jason is probably wise for everyone to know that Cameron and Caden have likely already been to campus a
Yeah.
number of times and have already had those
Yeah.
moments with their dad where it's like, this is where I did that, this is what you
Yeah.
were just running through and that sort of thing. But
Yeah.
now that they can go back as the prize recruits, maybe that dynamic can be a little different for them,
Right.
although it is a place that they have got to have already been way so familiar with.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. And that familiarity is big. There's no way to understate that, right? Like, you want to be like, well, they're gonna, but coaches know that's an uphill battle. So you kind of gotta feel that out, and everybody wants them. So you have to feel that out. You have to gauge how many resources you're in time and energy you're going to put into something like that. And so I talked to Jackie Manuel, you guys' arch nemesis at at North Carolina, about that specific thing and how they approach a kid who's like either a dream offer or has strong ties to another school. And he said it's just communication, like, and it's on the back end. And it's like, you talk to them and their inner circle and their parents, and you have to gauge, like, it's okay to, you just be honest. Is this worth doing? And 9.9 out of 10, they're going to say whether it's true or not, because they want, at the end of the day, we have a different world in college basketball, and a lot of this stuff is about marketing. So And I gave a marketing 101 thing on one of the last podcasts I did. And basically, an uncommitted recruit is like the hottest ticket, right? So you want to pull in fan bases, all the fan bases to up your your visibility, your marketing, your your ability to now sell products,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, I'm open to him. Yep, I'm open to them too. You sure? Yeah, yeah, yeah. How many fans you guys got? Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm open to you guys. So whether it's true or not, it is what it is. And coaches know that. So and again, we're all learning now with the new NIL stuff and the new now that marketing isn't taboo to talk about, even among coaches and recruits, we're all learning that now. So I think it'll be interesting to see. I do think, like to your point, as they should, they're gonna go through the process and enjoy it. So I think they've earned that.
It's going to be interesting to see some of the other blue bloods involved in this, right? Given there is such a strong tie to Duke through the
Yeah.
family connections and that sort of thing, and the North Carolina
Yeah.
angle as well. For a lot of people, myself included, it would be hard to process Carlos Boozer wanting his children to play well for North Carolina, right? You mentioned the 2001 class, and I think about Jay Williams and his days on College Game Day for ESPN and ripping off the suit and wearing a North Carolina jersey ahead of the Duke UNC game to be able to say, look, I'm not biased. Like I'm
Right.
okay putting this on and that sort of thing. Some guys you just can't see that. And I don't know that I could see that for Carlos Boozer.
Yeah, I mean, it's so Quinn Cook has a similar story. Not that his dad went there, but his late father was I believe a very, very big Carolina fan.
All right.
And so I think Quinn has the same kind of story where he was gonna, just like Jay was going to Carolina. You know what I'm saying? And I think Quinn wanted dream school was Carolina. And so he said, that he had to adjust to that. I remember talking to him about that back in the day. And yeah, it's just it would be funny to see the Boozer twins even on a Carolina visit. You know what I'm saying? Like Boozer there and watching the game with them, and they tend to take the pictures in the Carolina outfits. That would be funny. So that would be a good. I'm sure fans would use that if they ended up picking Duke, or you know, um, that would be funny. That would definitely be some bulletin board material.
No kidding. And again, we're ahead of the game here.
Yeah,
2025. They've got a lot of time left in school, but it's
yeah,
always fun to
yeah.
talk about. Jason Jordan's here with us on this edition of Locked On Blue Devils. Let's talk about another top player in the class. We've mentioned his name a couple of times already, but Cooper Flagg. Tell us about him.
Oh, bad man. That's a bad man there. I'm gonna tell you what. Cooper, he draws a crowd and he does not disappoint. A lot of times I go to watch elite players play, and this happens a lot. Like it's not like every now and then. When you go and you're like, okay, cool, all right, you settle in the bleachers and watch this kid that I've seen clips of and I've heard so much about, right? So I'm really excited. And then the first quarter is over and he hasn't scored, and it's like, okay. Then halfway through the second quarter, it's like he's being too cool to score, is what I would talk about. I'm so good, I'm not gonna score yet. And so it's like, I don't think you can score. I don't know that you can score. I think he's D'ing you up right now. So Cooper is not that, right? He is a guy who's going to bring it to you from the opening tip. He does not disappoint. He's definitely worth the price of admission, and he's impacting the game on both ends of the floor. 6'10", 6'11", runs the floor, runs a point forward roll, impacts the game on so many levels on the offensive end. They run the offense through him. He starts the offense. He can run the point. He's an amazing passer. He can knock shots down. He's so smart in how he uses his up and unders and how he finishes with different hands. And then on so he's literally super dominant on the offensive end. But then on
Right.
the defensive end, I mean, dare I say he may be even better. His
Wow.
anticipation on block shots is amazing. Amazing. Like he does not go for shot fakes, and he knows when you're going to shoot it, and he jumps at the highest point. He waits till you're at your highest point. This is what I'm saying about anticipation. And then he leaves his feet. And he does that most of the time. So that's why he blocks so many shots. So I was very impressed with him all summer. And he's been very consistent. I mean, he won the gold medal with USA. He was one of the youngest players on the team and one of the most intricate pieces. I talked to Sharman White, who was the head coach of that team, and he was like, Jay, that kid's different. He's like, that kid is different. And he's very hard on himself. Another thing about Cooper is he's super focused. Like he's not like a guy who wants a bunch of media coverage. Like he's too focused for that. And it's not even some people say that and it's kind of like, yeah, okay, you're super focused. We get it. That'll be your shtick. You're
Right.
super focused. No, it's genuine. Like he's like, okay, but I have to practice. So I can't do it at this time. I have workouts, so I can't talk at this time. He's like that. So, and I completely respect it. And he's a rock star. Like his following is big. He has a big following, and a lot of people, and rightfully so. Like a lot of people flock to him, and he did tell me, and I mean, we're on the Duke podcast, so we got to say this. He did say he was kind of like deer in headlights when his mom was like, "Hey, Jon Scheyer's on the phone." When he first got the offer, and he was like, oh, "Jon Scheyer," So he definitely had the excitement for the Duke offer, and he, that was the one that he talked about. And there were other offers, but he talked about that one.
And I was aware of
what
that.
means. You know what I'm saying? But it can't hurt.
That's where I was heading next, because we mentioned at the start with Trentyn Flowers being such a big fan and finally getting the chance to take that visit to Duke. Cooper Flagg got the offer from Duke, and now he's got the chance to set up visits and that sort of thing, and hopefully one day put on that Duke uniform and team up with somebody like Cameron Boozer, a top player in the class, both of those guys being on the floor together at the same time. So Cooper Flagg, also from Maine. You don't see top players, I don't feel like, from way up north like that too frequently. And so you were just impressed right away by what you saw.
I was, man. I was so impressed, and this is no inside intel or anything like that. It was the conversation I had with NBA guys, mostly NBA guys, was like, dude, these kids are 2025. There's no way. There's no way they're staying 2025. Like, so, this is just our conversation to the side. And I mean, it was a general consensus. It was like 8 of us. And they were like, this kid, man, there's no way these kids, they're playing against each other, right? Cooper didn't have a great game that game, but I mean, he has shown enough. It was Cameron Boozer's game, and he was showing out, right? And that was the conversation. It's like, are they really gonna not go to 2024? Are they not There's no way. They're too good. They're too good. They got it. These days it's about getting to the bag quicker. Like, so are you gonna wait 365 days when you can just get to that bag a year quicker and reclass? And then they're 2025, so if they went to 2024, they wouldn't miss out on postseason all-star games, which kids are caring less and less about. Most kids used to be like, I want to be a McDonald's All-American.
Right.
I want to be and that's changing. I'm not saying, a massive change, but that mindset is changing. You've seen it. Like kids are going on to, I mean, Jalen Duren did it. He was, that kind of, those kids don't care as much about that anymore because they're trying to get to, the pro money and, the pro lane for sure. So I don't know. Like I mean, everybody's, from what the intel I've gotten is say, they're staying 2025, but I'd be shocked if we're not talking this time next year and you're like, and the big news is that they 2024. I'd be like, I told you so. But just remember, I'm just telling you, when you're that good and you have the stature and everything, a pro body, no way. That's just my opinion. No way. They're too good. They're too good.
It is kind of just wild to think about all of this. And again, this is what you do. Jason Jordan, the director of college basketball recruiting, but we get so caught up in, hey, TJ Power has Duke in its top 5, like we spent a lot of time talking about last week. And then 2 full years, we're already talking about Cooper Flagg and the Boozer twins. Like that, to put it in that context, it's kind of strange to think about.
It is, man. It is. That's why we love recruiting, because there's so many speculative moves and, you're looking so futuristic, and definitely a lot of fun. Definitely a lot of fun to do that.
Jason, tell me one more time about Sports Illustrated and what all you guys have going on over there and where people can find your work.
Definitely a college basketball section of SI.com. Jason Jordan, Lord, you'd think I would remember that. Jason Jordan, SI at Twitter, which you have there, and Jason C. Jordan, Instagram. This week, we're gonna have a really good. We'll have some commitment news. So stay on the lookout for that. Big commit who you guys may or may not have been on at one point. He'll be making his commitment with us, and so we'll have a couple features coming out this week. One specifically, the kid Dink Pate, blowing up in Texas, a 2024 kid. And how he patterns his game after Penny Hardaway. So that's one who could maybe you guys will get on the radar there. He's 2024, and he's really blowing up. He's 5-star kid in that class. So a couple other features coming up. So, and then we'll have the Trentyn Flowers piece for next week. So definitely be on the lookout for that.
Jason, thanks so much for the time today. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Always.
All right. That was my buddy Jason Jordan joining us on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Always fun to chat with him. And again, I want to say thank you to LinkedIn Jobs for sponsoring that college basketball recruiting conversation with my good pal, Jason Jordan. That's going to do it for today's show. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.